Hello, colleagues. 2024 is going to be a big year for MAKRO. We are all looking forward to celebrating our 60th birthday in October, but there's also a lot to celebrate at MAKRO Poland. This year, our colleagues there are marking their 30th anniversary, and this is not just about looking back, it's very much about looking into the future and exploring the amazing opportunities that are opening up, and that's exactly what I talk about today with the CEO of MAKRO Poland, Dominik Branny. So get ready for some great Polish stories in this episode of More Podcast. Enjoy. It was a typical cold winter's day when the first MAKRO Wholesale store opened in Warsaw in February 1994. 30 years later, MAKRO's business in Poland has developed enormously. What market position our colleagues at MAKRO Poland have achieved in the meantime, and above all, what growth targets they have set themselves for 2030 as part of our SCORE strategy, you can find out here and only here at More Podcast. Wholesale to the max. A warm welcome to all of you. I am Bernd Rode from Internal Communications at MAKRO AG and responsible for this podcast about MAKRO's SCORE strategy. My guest today has been a member of the management board of MAKRO Poland for more than 12 years now. First, he was responsible for human resources, and then he was director customer operations. And for about 6 years now, he has been the CEO of MAKRO Poland. Hello and welcome, Dominik Branny.
Welcome.
Great to have you here, Dominik, and thank you for taking the time for us. Yeah, we are connected via the internet. What's going on in Warsaw right now? How is business running today?
Our business is running very dynamically. As you were saying, actually, we are in a very specific and very great year in the history of MAKRO. We are turning a huge page, a page of 30th anniversary, which shows our sustainability as the business on the Polish market. But also it has other elements of symbolism, like is this year we were moving to our new place, just straight and close to the store number 1. You mentioned it was opened in February 1994, and after 30 years, actually we are going to be, and we are already residing just next to it. So we fully reintegrated.
Okay, yeah, so back to the roots, so to speak. Yeah, I just mentioned the stages of your professional life at MAKRO Poland, but let's go even further back in time. What were you actually doing in 1994, pretty much 30 years ago? Where were you hanging out?
Actually, I have a very good memory of that time.
Okay.
That is the 1994. I was the early stage development junior manager in the company Unilever Poland, which was in a very strong partnership with MAKRO when entering Polish market, in a market completely different to the one we observe and live in today, which was underdeveloped, unsaturated, and here there was a great standard entering the market, and Unilever at the time was tapping into this corporation very strongly. And I remember how exciting it was to actually go for shopping in MAKRO in 1994 because it was a complete novelty. At that time, it was still with the different colors, white and red. But at that moment of time, I was having this experience, and I know how crowded extremely it was, how everybody wanted to discover it at the time.
Okay, so excited times already 30 years ago for you, but so much about the past. Today, we want to talk about the present and the future of MAKRO Poland as well, and about the current market situation and where the company stands today, but also, of course, about your SCORE objectives and how do you intend to achieve them. Another topic will be how you will manage to take our colleagues at MAKRO Poland with you to where we all want to be in 2030. Furthermore, we also want to know more about you personally, Dominik, what is important to you in your job, but also in life. For this, we have our little questionnaire, what scores for you? And at the end of this episode, it won't be missing the Sound Souvenir because, like all my guests, you, Dominik, have recorded a sound with your mobile phone that inspires you, motivates you, or that you associate with something special. But let's start with the market situation of MAKRO Poland. MAKRO has been operating in Poland for 30 years, and today there are 29 wholesale stores. Dominik, why didn't you actually open the 30th store for your anniversary? Because I think that would have been a great fit, right?
Yeah, the number might be misleading. First, I want to say that we traveled quite the journey from this 94. So we have gone through a lot of different turns and development stages as MAKRO Poland. It was always dynamic, and we were, I think, always in the mainstream of what was happening also in the market. Where we are at the moment, I mean, we clearly are also having a different profile of the organization and the business than we used to have at the entrance to the market. So with a strong focus on the professional customer groups, that is one which I would strongly emphasize. And with this also, we have traveled the journey from the pure cash and carry operator in the 90s. We became a multi-channel company.
And where does MAKRO stand in Poland today? What is your market situation at the moment?
Market situation, if you look just purely as a snapshot of today, we could say very clearly market as such is under the pressure of the consumer spending. So I think it's a place where the ability to compete effectively becomes even more important because competition in a tough market environment becomes fiercer. And that's a phenomenon for any market. And I think this is exactly where the market is at the moment. In this market, I think we are playing a very important role. And I could say with the focus of the professional groups, which is the core of our strategy, I mean, specifically HoReCa and Trader. With HoReCa, we're making continuous progress where it comes to gaining market shares. So our market leader position gets strengthened over a period of time. And that has been happening already for the last 5-6 years from the level of 13% to more than 20%. So you could say, in other words, every fifth zloty spent on the gastronomy comes through MAKRO. So that's a good position to be in. And we keep on working on this one because I think we have a strong competence to develop it even further. So that's one aspect. The other aspect, which is related to the trader pillar, which used to be in the past a dominant one, that changed over the decades of our presence in the market. And here we have a very important role to play also to support the customers who are in our small format stores, where we actually, through the franchise solutions, are equipping them and giving them a clear chance to win in this very competitive environment. And that's where we are placing our focus on the second pillar, which literally goes to the expansion and the quality expansion specifically of our Odido Elevate network.
Maybe you can additionally describe how does MAKRO Poland's customer structure look like, maybe also in terms of numbers.
If you want to look at the share, the kind of a composition, also to illustrate kind of a journey we have gone through over the years, the dominant groups in the long past ago were Trader first, even approaching 60%, then quite significant chunk being the SCOs, and just the remainder HoReCa. Nowadays, we are the business which two professional groups of HoReCa and traders are circulating around 80%. So you could say from the strategic group perspective, 80% is being achieved. And there HoReCa has taken the lead. Nowadays, you could say it's a 42, 44 range, depending part of the year, in which HoReCa is having the biggest share, with the 35% traders and then remainder being the SEO.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, the trader franchise is very important for you. And you are, so to speak, one of the pioneers in the metro universe when it comes to trader franchise. MAKRO have been active on the Polish market for many years with the trader franchise brand Odido. How important is trader franchise for your business today?
It's extremely important. I think it's actually the key for MAKRO business, actually, from the sustainability point of view, and looking also from how the market structure is evolving in terms of ratio of the franchise on franchise. It clearly shows that the small format, so specifically the small and medium size format, are clearly in the need to be equipped to compete, as I said earlier. And this is where we have the role to play. And this is also where we have the business to do in terms of sustainability of our share of traders in the market. And that's where we are placing this focus with advancing the concept, implementing it, but implementing it with the rigor so that we can ensure the quality we want to bring to customers. Because you have said, we've been operating with Odido for many years. We have a long history. But in this period of time, we've been going through a different kind of releases of Odido as a concept, from soft franchise brand alliance to really the one which is holistic concept of how to bring the value to the customers, help them to grow their sellout. Very essential, because actually that's what is making the proof of the concept in practice for the customers. And that's what we see coming over the last 3 years, where we started implementing the new release, being the Elevate, with the absolutely upgraded concept, with a different appeal, with a different image, with a different also concept quality to run the business by our customers. This is what we see is happening with the actually sellout dynamics.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so much for the current market position of MAKRO Poland. And from this position, MAKRO Poland, like MAKRO as a whole, must now grow within the framework of SCORE and grow significantly. As far as I know, the transformation of your wholesale business in Poland did not start with the launch of SCORE, but even before. To what extent has SCORE acted as an additional booster for the ambitions of MAKRO Poland? Did it give you an extra push?
We started earlier, indeed. Straight after COVID, we were obviously tapping and exploring what are the good practices in the group. And we have countries with great practices to say, obviously, about wholesale strategy implementation in Romania, where we sourced through the best practice visits, also through the exchanges. We have developed the plan on how to start tapping better into the environment of potential coming from the trader. And when doing it, the SCORE strategy came along. So I think what SCORE strategy did, it did not bring completely new dimensions because we were already in the process of exploring them. But I think it brought a lot of structuring it and putting the emphasis on the key elements of the wholesale strategy in Poland. So actually, I think we got a better view of the house we want to build or rebuild, if I may put it this way, rather than it brought complete novelty. And obviously, it still turned our attention to the points which we have not fully addressed whilst preparing earlier before the SCORE strategy. So I would say it was a booster towards making it more structured, more qualitative, more thought through, and more rigorous.
Yeah. And what are the concrete goals, the SCORE goals you want to achieve by 2030?
In a big numbers perspective, we would say it's a move towards 10 billion zlotys business. As a reference to give you, at the moment, we are below 7 billion at the moment. Obviously, crossing the boundary of the 80%, which is happening already now, but this is not the goal in itself. With a slightly different structure also of the groups I was mentioning earlier, where we clearly could see that the HoReCa gives the biggest opportunity, and especially through the FSD channel as a growth engine. And this bringing the share of HoReCa eventually to the level of more than 50%. With the trader keeping out pretty much the range of 35 to 40%, whilst SCO would be the remaining roughly 10%. So this is the kind of a composition. If you want to look at this from the channel perspective, then you would see, movement towards 60-40% between the channel of cash and carry and delivery. And obviously that would be different for different customer groups. But in general, becoming multi-channel organization and organized for the multi-channel organization, also in terms of the cost leadership, which you need to have for the wholesale strategy. Then along with the element of the different customer group composition, that would be the key goals to achieve. I don't need to mention, this doing, then it's possible to do it in a way which is profitable also over this period of time.
Yeah, and you already named now some measures and some key elements of the wholesale transformation of MAKRO Poland. Have these measures that are also already implemented, for example, the reduction of the assortments, maybe also you introduced buy more, pay less already, has this led to any significant results so far?
There's no overall total answer for this one. First, I want to say that we moved very fast with the implementation of this strategy and all its pillars. We have on one hand the key pillars, which are kind of enablers coming from the point of assortment optimization, putting the commercial policy with BMPL into the practice, and also taking a full benefit of optimizing efficiently the operations towards the cost leadership. So these elements we were putting in place very quickly and upfront in the strategy implementation. Whilst the other elements of the strategy, obviously the customer related, so the exploring the potential coming from the HoReCa market and then Odido network. So we moved very strongly towards that, yet with the speed, which is also the fundamental, with the speed and courage, actually assumed comes some imperfection. And where we are at the moment, even if we have moved forward in implementation, we obviously are doing some adjustments and tuning, because this is one of the learnings I think I would emphasize very strongly, and it's a very important learning. you need to reflect after the first phase of going with the 10,000 articles to the BMPL, exceeding even the reduction of the assortment, going very fast with implementation of also of the multi-channel fulfillment centers. I mean, you have certain reflections and certain learnings coming out of it. And then we are now in the stage of adjusting to tune them to specific market circumstances, because there are blueprints, but there are also local realities. And this tuning is extremely important for the organization to do. Take it, the balance between the BMPL and the promo, or take the assortment optimization, the clear experiences we have done fast and quite actually properly. But there are a few upon revision, and we decided to bring back.
There's another area in which MAKRO Poland is already very advanced and is considered as a best practice for other metro and macro countries. And this is the development of the out-of-store delivery. And to this end, all of our stores are currently being transformed into multi-channel fulfillment centers, or MFCs for short. Dominik, why is the implementation of the MFCs at MAKRO Poland a good example and also a role model for other metro countries?
Yes, we are very proud with the efficiency and optimization and streamlining and productivity of all the things we have done in the area of holistically end-to-end supply chain, and this includes operations. And I think with the competence of leaders for supply chain operations, we were able to move this needle significantly and in a short period of time. I think this is why it was possible. And what we wanted also to achieve, we wanted obviously to optimize capacity, because the strategy was assuming the very aggressive growth through the FSD, and also to enable also the delivery to the traders, which is very important, where we look at the channel composition of the franchise networks. And to do it, we would have to be either hugely investing on the non-optimized processes or optimizing processes to allow more capacity. I could assess roughly 15 to 20% increase of capacity, which we gained through this optimization. On top of that, productivity gains, here another 15% coming from the different way of organizing the teams in the store towards actually the flows of the goods. And then also taking the advantage of the tools which were low-hanging fruits, because these were the tools which we had, but we haven't used before, like SLS. So with the discipline of digging into the things which we have, exploiting them properly, reorganizing team, building the mindset of not two separate channels, but two channels under one roof, and optimizing the process, we've been able to move quite significantly productivity, but also something which is more important also for the customers. I mean, the gains coming towards the efficiency of our service levels, translating to the 2% up where it comes to the service level, also with the very high level already availability. I think this altogether created the very well oiled machine to just be ready to go and grab the potential of the market, meaning actually sales. Mm-hmm. And that's where actually our focus is, because here we are not super happy with how we are doing at the moment in terms of versus the pace. Irrespective of the external circumstances, we know we are equipped to grab it.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the terms efficiency and more productivity. What is your general approach, Dominik, to becoming more or even more productive in the future? How can MAKRO Poland achieve this?
I think it's a continuous process. It's on top of MFC, which is a great milestone achieved. I think this process never stops. The optimization is a continuous process, and also what we are running as an organization, we have even a cell which is continuously looking for the opportunities how to make the things better, faster, and more efficient. And this is the continuous improvement unit, where we see how can we either unlock the process by being faster. This is also the efficiency, or where we can do the things smarter. So in a way that allows to either provide a better service to the customers, or actually take away unnecessary complexity. It's by far easier adding the new things than optimizing and removing the ones which are no longer working, or maybe they can be optimized.
Okay, Dominik, so much for now on the topics of the score ambitions and the wholesale transformation of MAKRO Poland. And we will chat about all the cultural aspects of it, which plays also a very big role in this context in a moment. But first, we want to learn more about you personally, Dominik. And for that, we have once again our little questionnaire. What scores for you? Which is somewhat inspired by the basic principles of our score strategy. And if you are ready for that, Dominik, I would say let's get started.
Okay, good.
Okay, so here's the first question. What is your core? Means what special strengths do you have?
I think I'm quite resilient and persevering in all my journeys.
hmm What small or big goals have you set for yourself?
I think I want to develop. I mean, for me, the key, I think you mentioned earlier, the moves I've made within the last 12 years in MAKRO Group specifically. I could say I like moving through the boundaries and doing the things which are initially looking like impossible or not accessible. Actually, in essence, the only limitations we set is the ones we put ourselves in our heads. Effectively, if you open up for different experiences, you can explore also your potential in a different way. So my goal is actually not to have one specific achievement, is to continue developing and continually crossing the boundaries, which actually still somewhere exist, because I mean, we all have them. It's just a matter how we reflect on them and how we decide to push them away.
Yeah, so you don't have a special goal, so it's your way you want to achieve something. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I love the story of life is about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah. Are there any milestones that you use to measure your progress so you can also judge your success? Is there something?
Yes, in general, I'm looking actually what legacy I'm leaving. So this is the key point. Actually, it's not only the short-term achievements goals, which we know. Sometimes we have them in business. Sometimes we need to complete something in personal life, and we can say it's achieved. Actually, the best kind of a goal or reference point for me is actually at every stage when you're moving on to the next chapter in your personal life or professional life is actually what you're leaving behind. I mean, and this is where I judge it not by the superficiality of the what you live, but actually by the real tangible things, and also ability of those who either step into your place or those who are taking over from you. How the platform which has been built is another level to build on further. So in a business context, for me, it's a succession building and a successful succession building.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, Dominik, now we know what's important to you in business, but also in life and what gets you excited. And of course, we are really interested in your sound souvenir, the sound of your core. But as always, we will listen to it and you will tell us your story about it at the end of this episode. Dominik, we have already heard a lot about your score goals and the individual measures of our wholesale transformation. But of course, the entire change process in general means first and foremost for our people to say goodbye to old behaviors and, for example, to everything that has anything to do with retail. Basically, yeah, we are completely reinventing ourselves and want to become a pure wholesaler. What does this change mean for the employees of MAKRO Poland? How are they dealing with that topic?
For many those who have a longer history with MAKRO, it's a reconnect with the certain roots. It's also going back to the principles of wholesale operating, and we've been, as I said, evolving through this journey across the years. So for some, it's kind of a reconnection. We have a new generations of employees coming in. I think it's a also very well defined strategy, but also the drivers, meaning the fundamentals behind them. So the behavioral drivers we put to make it happen. I think what comes across very strongly is this element of the speed, simplicity, courage, the elements which I would just mark as the free ones, underpinned with the element of togetherness which come from the one metro. I think these are the things which people refer to. And I think also these are the key ingredients to move us forward, and also through the behaviors which we need to nurture more vividly.
Yeah. But within such a comprehensive change, there are also always losers. So people who can't let go of their old habits. Dominik, how do you deal with that kind of resistance?
I think the stimulus is to exemplify and show the opportunity of the new approach.
hmm
Is not to criticize something which has been developed as a habit. I think the critics closes up for change rather than opening up. What's opening up is to see what can I gain as an individual, as an employee, as a human being by doing things differently.
Mm-hmm.
I like and I love actually very much the analogy of, in principle, we have a certain DNA and we are pretty much attached to the kind of like a spiral, which we are trying to stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And we have certain habits. I mean, we have certain comfort zones. And I think to show what is the benefit of going beyond this boundary, going beyond the limits we put ourselves, going out of the comfort zone, therefore, and how you can get used and expand your comfort zone by trying the different things in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to see the benefits of it is the motivation to do it. And how to show it? I mean, you can exemplify it by your, which is coming down to the leaders and the role modeling, but you can also by creating the opportunities for people to experience, to go an extra mile, to be out of a comfort zone in a safe way. Out of comfort zone doesn't have to mean unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
Might be uncomfortable, but still safe. And bringing people to these territories actually potentially says, oh, I've tried something differently. Oh, I've done it differently than the last X years in the company. It's making my life easier. I think MFC, multi-channel fulfillment center, is a fantastic example of people having a barrier on entry to start doing it differently because they've been doing always in a certain way. And when equipped with the tools, when trying different things, even if having a resistance in the beginning, if the experience is positive, the comfort kicks in and and your zone is extended. It goes very fast. If it was not the case, people would go back to the original, say, basically, I tried. I mean, it's really bad for me. I mean, I'm not going to try it again. But MFC is a very good example where the resistance at the first 1, 2, 3 stores, then you get also to the point of word of mouth, stores talk between each other, say, basically, yeah, we were skeptical, but it's really good. It's really fine. It really helps me. The experience of working is better. I do things faster, effortless to in some areas, and my outcome is even better. So you get so many ticks at the same time, but this is not what typically people will vote for. It's a role of leaders to create an environment in which you can step into this one experience, and when it's good experience, people will stay there.
Yeah. And would you this also define as a goal that you set for the cultural change at MAKRO Poland? This behavior?
I say when we discuss the things with the executive team, we talk about more creating the environment in which people can foster, in which people can take the risk. People can have a courage to take the risk because creating the environment for courage is actually allowing the mistakes and learning from them. I mean, that would be a very difficult to create a courageous culture if the first mistake would be punished in the organization. Obviously, we need to learn from them. It's a prerequisite also of developing. But our role, as we see it, and this is the goal, to create the winning spirit and continuously reinvent it, because especially when the situation in the marketplace is fiercer, the results might be not coming immediately, where you need to demonstrate resilience and continued belief that the results will come. You need to carry on. You need to continue working, continue trying, continue exploring. I mean, this is the role, how to keep the momentum building. And that's also how you turn resistance into the resilience in the organization. And that's what we are making sure it's happening.
Mm. And what is most important to you personally in this cultural change?
I wouldn't call it a goal. I think the can-do mentality, the openness to try, and the statement of sometimes feel the fear and do it anyway because you are determined to win. I think this is the attitude to continuously build. And you need to build or nurture it every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something which you have done because you've done a presentation or you have announced it. No. And it's not happening in one room. It's happening all across the organization. So it needs to be nurtured in every part of the organization.
How important is it to learn from each other? For example, with regard to the wholesale transformation in other metro countries?
Yeah, in a way, I said when we were going faster with the exploring the strategy, putting the strategy in place even before score, we didn't do it behind the desk, just in our own room. I think we reached first and that was Romania at the time. We reached first with the best practice visit. We went to explore actually how each of the building blocks of the success are constructed, how it's working. And this was the first stimulus and insight. And I think that should be a common practice. We should not ever shy away from reaching to where things are working. But we also should have a natural reflection, actually, what is the tune and adjustment needs to do for the specific market circumstances. Because even if strategy is one, even if we are one metro, I think it's market by market, the circumstances, the differences coming from the competitive landscape, the responsiveness you can expect or you should expect will be different, and you have to factor it in, not maybe at the principal level, but in deployment plan, and this is very essential from my perspective.
Yeah. What means in this context one metro to you personally?
Thinking total, acting total, feeling total group. At the country level, you could say it's thinking, in my case, MAKRO Polska. Thinking not, I have two free KPIs on which I'm driving. I couldn't care less what will happen in how it relates with the others. I have achieved mine. No, we achieve because we achieve total outcome. And this is one of the key things also for leaders to manage and lead when it comes to bringing the winning spirit. Winning spirit comes from strong act together, because we are a team, we are one metro, comes from a very strong act of working together and listening to each other, pushing through, supporting each other. And that means actually I have to look beyond my own table, beyond my own desk, beyond my own department, beyond all my KPIs. And we know as a human beings, the gravity might be otherwise. And the role of a leader is to keep on bringing it back to the holistic results we want to generate, not just the specific ones I'm directly responsible for.
Yeah, very interesting. Last question. Did our Metro Fundamentals and maybe also SCORE play a role in your activities for the 30th anniversary of MAKRO Poland?
We emphasize examples. We refer to it. We want to be more at the element point of referring to the examples rather than to keep on only talking about the labels. The most important part of the fundamentals is not the definition, but how you feel them and how you live them. And I think this is the reference we are doing, and they are broadly communicated across the organization. I think understood, because they cannot be not understood because they are so straightforward. That's good, and it's very easy to refer to them. What I can say is a good proof of they are living is because when people make a reference to one or the other, not like a five of them, but a specific one to the other, that means actually everybody has the individual perspective, what clicks with them most always. But I see this is a living reference point. This is not something which is just somewhere dusting on the shelf and identified. So people refer to it, and this is the proof of it. It got through.
Dear colleagues, you've heard it. MAKRO Poland is a role model when it comes to converting our wholesale stores into modern multi-channel fulfillment centers. And I think that's pretty clever, because these MFCs not only function as traditional metro wholesale stores, but also as warehouses and efficient delivery platforms. And the best thing is that our customers benefit from the new strategy in several ways. For example, better availability of products, as well as on-time and reliable delivery. All in all, a significantly higher level of service. And if you would like to find out more about our MFCs and how they actually work, then take a look at United. In addition to an interview with experts, we have put together there an overview of information graphics, explanation texts, and important facts and figures. There's also a very interesting video about our MAKRO flagship store in Warsaw. So take a look at it and listen to the More podcast episode with Joachim Lindner, our MFC expert at Metro. As always, you can find all the links in the show notes of this episode. And now the time has come, Dominik. We are coming to the end, and therefore also to the highlight of every episode of More Podcasts. It's now about your sound souvenir, because like all my guests, you also brought us a certain sound that inspires or motivates you, or that simply makes you happy. And I'm really interested to find out what it is. So, Dominik, let's hear it. What sound did you bring?
I'm not sure whether it's such a highlight, but but still, since you asked, I brought it.
Yeah.
So here it is.
Okay. Maybe once again. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I know might be difficult.
Sounds maybe from sports, and there's also audience. Which
It does, yes. Yes, good hearing, absolutely. It comes from sports. Outside of work, I'm practitioner of triathlon. And in a
okay.
triathlon, this is the sound when the race goes off. And this is when the cannon goes off.
Yeah.
And as a first actually thing you do, you just run into the water. So
Okay.
this is exactly the element. It's just a super symbolizer of after a lot of efforts, a lot of preparations. I mean, this is the kind of a testing moment, and this signals you off to the race. And in a way, that's what we do also daily.
Yeah. And what does it mean to you personally? So, what emotions it brings up?
I think it's a special thrill when you're standing in front of water with 2,000 people running into it for the big race, whether it's a half or full distance. And I think you have put a lot of preparations there as
Yeah.
well in terms of energy and time, and also thinking through the details. So
How much do you have to prepare for a triathlon?
it depends what type of a race you take. If it's a full distance Ironman, then it's actually a bit more preparations, but that you don't take maybe that often. If it's a half, it's less, but principally it's more or less 7-8 hours a week,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
which you need to distribute across obviously towards weekend, because that's where you have a space to do the volume things on sport. But I mean, the key one with this one is preparation, is a regularity and a discipline. So you always keep some activity for yourself that you keep the fitness level. And it's kind of a build to which at some point in time you go to this very important moment to go into the water and start doing the triathlon. And but I would say it's a very analogical things to you do sometimes with the big projects. You do a lot of work, you put a lot of things into the place, and there comes this moment where the cannon needs to go off,
Yeah.
and the project goes into action. The initiative goes into action. You need to implement the plan. So then it gets verified in reality, and the same is true for the races like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really sounds great. It was really interesting, a really interesting sound. Thank you, Dominik, for that. And above all, thank you for taking the time to tell us how you at MAKRO Poland are bringing our score strategy to life and implementing it so successfully. I'm sure we all learned a lot, a great insight, especially for us at corporate. Yeah, Dominik, thanks again, and all the best also for the next triathlon to you.
Thank you very much, Bernd. It was a pleasure.
And a big thank you also to you, dear colleagues out there, for listening. Don't miss the next episode of More Podcasts, and don't forget to check out the previous episodes as well. You can find them on United and everywhere else you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to it and recommend More Podcasts to all our colleagues. I can't wait for the next episode. Bye bye and take care.